Morning light touched the glass towers as the city woke up. Cars moved like a slow river. People hurried with bags and coffee cups. In the back seat of a quiet car sat a man and a little girl. The man was Mr. Kareem. People knew his name, but today he wore a simple jacket and a plain cap. Beside him sat his 9-year-old daughter, Lena. She looked out the window and tapped the glass with a soft rhythm. They had just finished a hospital checkup. It was routine. Everything was fine. Still, it made both of them a little tired. They often spoke in a special way. Lena was deaf. She read lips a bit, and she signed. Her dad signed a little too, but his hands were slow. Many days he used a speech-to-text app on his phone. He would talk into it, and the phone would show words on the screen, and Lena would read them. He loved her very much. He tried his best. Yet the screen sat like a small wall between them. It helped, but it also made their talks feel heavy and formal. He wished he could do better. "Let's get breakfast," he said into the app. The screen showed the words. Lena read them and smiled. She nodded and signed back. Breakfast, yes. Pancakes? He knew the sign for pancakes. He tried to copy it. His hands shaped the motion carefully, like a child copying a drawing. She grinned and nodded again. The driver turned onto a quiet street, lined with trees and small shops. A chalkboard stood outside a tiny cafe. White letters said, "Fresh pancakes, strawberries today." It felt friendly. It felt human. They stopped. Inside, the cafe smelled like warm butter and coffee. A radio played soft music. A chalk menu hung above the counter with simple drawings. Eggs, toast, pancakes, tea. 2 college students laughed over textbooks at a small table. A mother rocked, a stroller by the window. The light was polite, not too bright, not too dim. Mr. Kareem and Lena sat at a corner table near the window. He opened the app again. "What do you want?" He spoke into the phone. He turned the screen toward her. She thought for a second, then took his pen and sketched a tiny strawberry next to a circle for a pancake. He smiled. A young waitress came to the table. She wore a simple apron and a name tag that said Maya. She did not stand tall above Lena. She bent gently, like a tree bending in a breeze, and came to Lena's eye level. She smiled with her whole face. Then she did something that made time slow down for the man. She lifted her hands and signed, "Good morning. My name is Maya. What is your name?" Her signs were clear and calm. Her face carried the meaning, too. Lena's eyes widened. Surprise opened into joy. She sat up straighter and signed back, "My name is Lena." The room felt warmer. Lena laughed without sound, and yet the laugh filled the table. She signed fast, the way children speak when they are excited. "Can I have pancakes with strawberries? And maybe milk?" She looked at her dad, then back at Maya. The waitress nodded and signed. "Pancakes with strawberries and milk. Good choice." She added a tiny joke with her hands, something about strawberries being tiny hearts that taste sweet. Lena giggled. Mr. Kareem tried to join. He signed, "Pancakes good," but his hands were a little stiff. Maya glanced at him with kindness, not with pity. She signed back slowly so he could follow, "Yes, pancakes are very good." Mr. Kareem felt something inside his chest loosen, and then he felt a tightness too. He had watched many amazing things in his life. He had seen giant screens come to life at product launches. He had seen numbers dance in boardrooms. He had flown over oceans and crossed time zones in a single day. But this small moment, this simple good morning in sign, at his child's eye level, had more power than many big events. He saw his daughter relax in a way he had not seen in weeks. He saw her be herself without a wall of glass or a glowing screen in the way. When Maya stood to take the order, he spoke softly. "Thank you," he said, and then he tried to sign it too. "Thank you." His hand moved from chin out. He added, "How did you learn?" His signing broke in the middle. The shapes were not quite right. Maya understood anyway. She signed back and also spoke slowly so he could read her lips if needed. "My younger brother is deaf. We learned at home. We learned to make room for hands and eyes." She smiled kindly. Then she took a small notepad and wrote a simple line so he did not feel left out. "I learned for my brother. I'm happy to use it here." She placed the note by his coffee cup. The pancakes came hot with a bright red topping and a small mountain of whipped cream that looked like a soft cloud. The milk came in a clear glass. Lena signed, "Thank you" to Maya with a neat movement. Maya returned the sign. Then she moved on. To other tables. Mr. Kareem cut a small piece of pancake and passed it to Lena. She took it and signed, "Good." He nodded and signed back, "Good." But his hand shape was not perfect. He laughed softly at himself. She reached out and lightly moved his fingers into the right shape. He tried again. "Good." This time it looked right. She touched her chest in a quick sign of pride and joy. They ate slowly. They did not rush. Lena began to tell a story in sign about school. She shared a small moment from yesterday. A classmate drew a cat on the board, but the cat looked more like a potato with ears. The class laughed kindly. The teacher laughed too. Lena signed that she wished her dad could have seen it. He watched. Her hands, her face, the way her eyebrows carried questions and jokes. He followed most of it. When he missed something, he asked her to repeat. This time he did not reach for the phone right away. He tried to stay with her eyes. He noticed little things. He noticed how Maya had placed the milk on the side of Lena's stronger hand. He noticed how the cafe had clear labels and a writing board near the register. He noticed that the music was soft enough that nothing felt hard to track. He noticed that comfort did not require big money or special devices. It only needed a bit of care, a bit of learning, and the choice to meet someone where they are. He thought of his own world, full of meetings, bright slides, fast talk, and rushing steps. He wondered how often simple chances for real connection were lost. A message buzzed on his phone, a reminder about a call in 40 minutes. The call could make someone happy. The call could move a number on a chart. He looked at the screen and then at Lena. Her shoulders were not tense. Her small hands danced in the air as she told him about a poem her class would sign next week. He closed the reminder. He took a breath. He turned his hands forward again. He signed slowly, "Poem." She nodded, eyes bright, and signed the first 2 lines. The signs painted pictures in the air, about being seen, about being heard with eyes and hands. He did not need a voice to feel the meaning. Maya came back to check on them. "Everything okay?" She signed. Lena gave 2 quick thumbs up. "Strawberries are great." Maya smiled and added a small joke, signing that the strawberries had been up early, doing exercise, so they were extra bright today. Lena giggled again. Mr. Kareem watched the flow. He tried a small joke of his own. He signed something like "strawberry strong," but he used the wrong hand shape. It came out more like "strawberry heavy." Lena understood the humor anyway and laughed even more. Maya nodded with encouragement and said aloud, "You're doing well. Keep going." When it was time for the bill, Maya placed the receipt on the table with a small folded note. She did not say it out loud. She let the note speak. On the note she had written, "Your daughter is bright. You sign pretty well. Keep going." Below the handwriting, she drew a tiny hand doing the sign for practice. It was playful and kind. Mr. Kareem felt warmth in his face, a gentle heat that was not from shame, not from pressure, but from care. He signed, "Thank you again," with better shape this time. She returned the sign and added, "See you again." He did not leave a loud, showy tip. He did not make a scene. He simply paid the bill, left a fair tip for good service, and wrote a quiet line at the bottom of the receipt. "Thank you for speaking in her language." He stood and helped Lena with her jacket. She put her hand in his. They walked out into the soft light of the late morning. The street felt the same as before, but he did not feel the same. The world around him had not changed. But the space between him and his daughter had shifted by a small, important step. In the car, Lena signed the strawberry joke again, slowly, so he could learn it. He watched her hands, the shape, the rhythm, the small bounce that made it funny. He tried to copy it. He got the movement wrong at first, then adjusted. She laughed and touched his shoulder in a light pat. It was a sign that said, "You did fine." He smiled. He looked out the window as the driver pulled into traffic. He thought about how many times he had promised himself he would learn more. He thought about how soon always became later, and later often fell off the calendar. He took out his phone not to hide behind it, but to make a small plan. He opened a notes app and typed, "Practice every day, even 10 minutes. He added, "Ask her teacher for resources." He added, "Find a local class." He did not make a grand speech to himself. He did not promise a giant project. He set 3 small steps he could begin now. He looked at Lena. She was looking back at him, curious. He turned the phone so she could read. She smiled and nodded. Then she signed, "Together." He returned the "sign together" and felt the words settle inside him like a steady light. The car passed the cafe and turned toward the main road. The city moved around them fast as always, but inside the car, time felt gentle. A simple morning had opened a door. He had seen something clear and honest, his daughter at ease, speaking with O. The next morning began with the small sounds of a busy home. The kettle clicked, the toaster popped. In the kitchen, sunlight made thin squares on the floor. Mr. Kareem stood by the counter with his sleeves rolled up. He was cutting fruit for Lena's lunchbox. He checked his watch, then stopped himself. He remembered the note he had made in the car yesterday. Practice every day, even 10 minutes. Lena walked in with her backpack. Her hair was tied back in a neat ponytail. She put her notebook on the table and sat down. He moved closer and lifted his hands. "Good morning," he signed. He did it carefully. She returned the sign with a little bounce in her movement. "Good morning," he added. "How are you?" He was slow. She watched his face and hands and answered, "I am good." "You?" He smiled and signed, "I am good." He tried to keep eye contact. He tried to let the world go quiet. For that small minute, it worked. A buzz from his phone broke the silence. A calendar alert appeared. Call at 8:30. Then another alert. Draft due by noon. He swallowed. He did not touch the phone. He turned it face down. He looked back at Lena. "What do you have today?" He signed. She told him about reading time and a science lesson. She signed the word for volcano with a big motion and a funny soundless boom. He laughed. He repeated volcano and his shape was clumsy. She shook her head and gently repositioned his hands. He tried again. Better. She smiled and gave a small nod. Better. The driver was waiting outside. Time looked thin. He hugged her and signed, "See you after school." She signed back, "See you." He wanted to add more, maybe a joke, maybe a longer sentence. But the words felt heavy in his hands. He promised himself he would practice again at night. The day took him like a fast river. Meetings stacked like cups. He sat in a room with glass walls and spoke about shipping schedules, supplier timelines, and product updates. There were many slides. Numbers showed growth and gaps. People nodded. He nodded too. But in the back of his mind, he saw a pair of small hands moving in the air and a waitress kneeling to eye level. He pushed the thought away. He told himself he would come back to it in the evening. At night, he opened a sign language video. The teacher on the screen smiled and taught the alphabet. A, B, C. He followed. His fingers felt stiff, like cold branches learning to bend. He made it to the letter J, then an email pinged with an urgent label. He paused the video and answered. The email. It took 20 minutes. He went back to the video. He forgot where he was. He started again from A. He felt a little silly. He told himself it was fine. Small steps. Day 2, he practiced again, but only for 8 minutes. Day 3, a late meeting ran long. He fell asleep on the couch with the video open and the sound turned low. Day 4, he did not practice. He told himself he would do double time on the weekend. Day 5, he practiced for 15 minutes and felt proud. Then 2 days passed with nothing. His plan was good. His actions were uneven. He felt the push and pull of a big life and a small promise. On Monday, Lena's teacher sent a note home in a clear folder. It was short. Dear Mr. Kareem, Lena is doing well. She is confident and kind to her classmates. She has been very helpful during group work. She told me she enjoys signing jokes with you. She also said she wishes you could sign more at home. If you want resources or would like to join our parent class on basic sign language, we'd be happy to have you. Warmly, Ms. Rafi. He read it twice. The words were not heavy or blaming. They were warm. They were honest. He felt a gentle ache. He tucked the note back into the folder and put it in his work bag so he would not lose it. That same afternoon, he told the driver to stop by the cafe. He wanted to say thank you again. He wanted to ask a question he had been carrying since yesterday, how to keep going when life is fast. The cafe was not full. The chalkboard still had the simple drawings. A new line at the bottom read, "We can write or sign, whichever you prefer." Maya was there, tying her apron. She looked up and smiled when she saw them. She waved at Lena and smiled at him without making the moment big. They sat by the window again. Lena ordered a small pastry and milk, signing with ease. Maya signed, "Good choice," then looked at Mr. Kareem. He spoke quietly, then added simple signs to support his words. "Thank you for yesterday. It made a difference." My daughter smiled in a new way. He paused, then signed again slowly. "I want to learn more. I start, then stop. Work is loud." He hoped she would understand his slow mix of words and signs. She did. Maya leaned gently on the table's edge and spoke while signing. "I understand. When I learned, I was also busy. My brother needed me. That made the choice simple." Her hand spelled out brother with a clean motion. We made space for hands and eyes. It was not always easy, but it was daily. Lena watched and nodded. She took a small bite of her pastry. Sugar dusted her fingers. "Can I ask," he said, "what small things help besides learning the language?" Maya thought for a second. She counted with her fingers as she signed and spoke. "Eye level like we did yesterday. That matters. Clear lighting, soft background sound, writing pads near the register, staff who know basic signs. Hello, wait, water, milk, bathroom, help. Clear menus. Captions on videos. A doorbell that flashes. Interpreters for events when needed." She paused, then added with care. "Sometimes the hardest part is not the language. It is people being in a hurry. It is people saying, 'We do,' 'not have time,' or 'no one asked.'" Her eyes were kind, not sharp. She was not attacking him. She was sharing reality. "I am not only talking about cafes. I am talking about offices, clinics, bank counters, school meetings." She signed slowly so each point was clear. "Many places do not mean harm. They just do not plan for us, so we learn to carry extra effort every day." He listened. He felt a small quiet inside him. It was the sound of truth landing. He took a small notebook from his pocket and wrote down her points. Basic signs, lighting, writing pads, captions, visual doorbell, interpreters. He wrote one more line. No one asked how people gave up asking. He looked up. Thank you, he said. Would it be okay if I ask you more in the future? She smiled. Of course, she said, signing at the same time. I am not a teacher, but I care, and I can point you to teachers. At home that evening, he showed the note from Ms. Raffi to Lena. She read it and looked at him with hopeful eyes. He signed, I want to join the class. She clapped without sound and hugged him. They practiced a few words before dinner. Family, learn together. They laughed when he mixed up two signs and said uncle when he meant learn. He fixed it and they kept going. The next day, he brought up accessibility in a meeting at his company. It was a regular meeting about office, updates, budgets, and staff training. He waited for a gap and then said, I want us to add captions to all company videos. I want interpreters at our big events. I want basic sign training for front desk teams. Let's also look at visual alert systems for our main offices. He spoke calmly. He did not raise his voice. He did not make it a dramatic speech. He just placed the items on the table like useful tools. Some managers nodded. One said, That's nice. We can look at it next quarter. Another asked, How many people even need this? We don't have requests. A third said, We can put a brochure in the lobby, maybe. He listened. The words, nice to have, floated in the air. He looked out the glass wall for a second and saw his reflection. He thought of Lena's hands signing a poem. He thought of Maya's brother needing people to plan for him, not as a gift, but as a normal thing. He asked a quiet question. If no one asked, is it because they don't need it, or because they haven't seen us do it? The room paused. He added, Let's do a small pilot. One office, one event. Basic training at reception. Captions on internal videos. We will learn from it. He did not push harder. He knew change often started with a small door, not a big gate. That night, he tried the alphabet again. A, B, C. He got to J without stopping. He smiled. He practiced. Hello. Thank you. Please. Help. Wait. He practiced proud. He wanted to tell Lena he was proud of her. His hands found the shape. He practiced learn. He practiced I am learning. He sent an email to Ms. Raffi asking about the parent class. She replied with dates and a warm welcome. He put the class on his calendar and set a quiet alarm that would not get lost under other alerts. The week passed with better rhythm. He did not practice perfectly every day. One night he came home late and only practiced for 5 minutes. The next night he did 20 minutes and felt the signs flow a little easier. Lena noticed. She teased him with a new joke and watched his hands find the right bounce. She fixed a small mistake with a tap on his wrist. He thanked her with a clean sign. She signed, You are improving. He signed back. Because my teacher is good. She grinned. He began to see small things he had missed before. At the grocery store, he noticed announcements were only spoken. He asked the manager if they could also display them on a screen. At the bank, he saw the teller speak fast behind a glass pane. He wondered how hard that must be for many people, not only deaf customers. He started carrying a little notepad in his pocket, like the one in the cafe, so he could write when needed. It was a small act, but it changed how people interacted with him. It slowed things down. It made space for clarity. One afternoon, he met with the head of facilities. They walked through the main office. He asked simple course. The day of the school program began with clouds like light cotton in the sky. The air felt soft and bright at the same time. Mr. Kareem looked at his phone as he tied his shoes. There was a message from his assistant about an afternoon meeting with a very important client. The message had red stars and the word urgent. He felt the pull of habit. He also felt the small promise he had made to himself and to Lena. He put the phone in his pocket and walked to the kitchen. Lena was making a small sign with paper and markers. She wrote her name in careful letters and added a tiny drawing of a hand signing love. She looked up and smiled when she saw him. He lifted his hands and signed, "You ready?" She nodded with a quick, happy motion. He added, "I am coming." She smiled wider and held up her sign. He gave a quiet nod that meant proud. He didn't say it, but it showed on his face. The school auditorium was a simple room with folding chairs and a small stage. Sunlight made thin. Lines across the floor through high windows. Posters hung on the walls. Kindness is a choice. Learn with your eyes, ears, and heart. Parents settled into seats, some with coffee cups, some with small cameras. Children whispered in, excited bursts, shoes tapping, hands waving. There was a soft buzz, like bees in a garden. Mr. Kareem and Lena found seats near the middle, where the view was clear and the lighting was gentle on the eyes. His phone buzzed again. He looked at the screen. "Client can only meet today, 2:30. Sharp." He checked the time on the wall clock. The program was set to start at 1:45. He felt a small twist in his stomach. He calculated traffic, greetings, possible delays. For a second, he pictured leaving early with a wave and a kiss, and the old, familiar line in his head. "I'll make it up later." He turned the phone face down on his knee. He took a breath. He decided. He was going to stay. Music stopped. The principal welcomed everyone and stepped aside. Children walked onto the stage in two small lines. They were different ages, different heights, different hair, but all had the same bright look of nervous joy. The lights were gentle, not harsh. A teacher stood at the side giving clear cues with her hands. The room went quiet in a full, warm way. Then the poem began, not with voices, but with hands, faces, and bodies. Each child signed a line and stepped back. Their hands drew pictures in the air. "I am seen," the signs said. "I am heard with eyes. My hands make words. Your eyes are kind. We are a class." The poem had no sound, yet everyone felt it clearly. Small hands moved like birds taking flight, then like waves, then like open doors. The children's faces carried meaning, raised eyebrows for questions, soft cheeks for gentle words, strong eyes for strong lines. A hush sat over the room, the good kind that holds respect. Lena stepped forward when it was her turn. She took a breath, looked up, and found her dad in the crowd. He sat straight, eyes on her, hands ready. She signed her line with steady grace. "When you look at me, I feel tall." It was simple and true. He felt something move inside his chest, deep and clean, not loud. He lifted his hands and gave the sign for applause, a soft wave of hands in the air. His motion was not smooth, but it was honest. She smiled in a way that said, "I saw you." When the poem ended, the children signed, "Thank you" together. The room filled with hand applause, 1,000 soft waves. Some parents wiped their eyes. A few babies made happy sounds. The principal thanked the teachers and invited everyone to the cafeteria for cookies and juice. People stood and moved, talking quietly, not to break the warm feeling. He stood too, but he stayed in place for a second, looking at the stage, at the small marks where feet had stood, at the open space where the poem had lived. In the cafeteria, long tables held paper cups, lemonade, small cookies, and fruit. Children tugged on sleeves to pull parents toward friends. Mr. Kareem and Lena moved through the room slowly. A few parents nodded hello. Lena's teacher, Ms. Rafi, came over with a gentle smile. She signed, "You came. Thank you." He signed back, "I am glad I came." His hands were careful. She nodded, understanding and kind. They stood by a tray of apple, slices, and Ms. Rafi said, signing as she spoke. "We have a parent class on Wednesdays. It is very basic but helpful. We focus on daily home signs, dinner, homework, feelings, rest." He listened with full attention. He said, "I would like to join." He added the sign for learn. She brightened. "Wonderful," she said. "We also have a list of certified instructors if you want private lessons at home or after work hours." She handed him a sheet with names and phone numbers. He took it like it was something rare. His phone buzzed again. He looked at the screen. "Are you coming? We're waiting." He looked up and saw Lena with two friends, hands flying, telling something funny about the poem. He watched the way the girls leaned toward each other like flowers turning to light. He felt the old habit and the new promise pulling in opposite directions. Then the pull stopped. He typed, "I can't make it today. Please reschedule." He put the phone away and felt the quiet settle in his mind like a soft blanket. On the drive home, Lena practiced her poem line with him, guiding his hands and facial expression. "When you look at me, I feel tall," she signed again, slowly. He copied. She touched his cheek lightly to remind him to lift his eyebrows on the word you. He tried again, and she gave him a little nod of approval. They laughed together when he made a funny face by accident. The driver smiled in the mirror at their moving hands. That evening, he sat at the table with a notebook. He wrote a new rule at the top of the page: 1 hour of sign practice daily, no excuses. He drew a simple box for each day of the week and put a small square beside each box where he could make a check mark. He opened his calendar and blocked an hour in the evening as family time. He told his assistant to protect the hour unless there was a real emergency. He did not use big words. He did not give a speech to himself. He just made room. He called one of the certified instructors from the sheet. A calm voice answered. They set a plan. 2 sessions a week for him, 1 joint session with him and Lena each weekend, and a short group session for the home staff once a month. He sent a message to the head of his company's HR team. "Please find a captioning service and interpreter agency we can work with. We will start with our main office and our next all-hands meeting. Also, let's schedule a basic sign lesson. For our front desk team." He kept the requests practical and clear. Then he walked to his desk and wrote a different kind of message to Maya. He thanked her again for the cafe moment and asked if she would be open to helping them design a simple Welcome in Sign mini training, a short set of signs and a small card with tips for eye level, lighting, and patience. He said he would pay for her time, and he would also bring in a certified teacher to check and lead the lessons. He wrote, "Your lived experience matters. If you are willing, please help us shape it so others can learn." He sent the message and hoped it did not sound heavy. The reply came soon. "Yes, I'd be honored. Let's do it together." The first daily hour felt long but good. He and Lena sat at the table with a bowl of fruit between them. The instructor joined on video for the last 20 minutes to check their hands and give gentle corrections. They practiced family words, school words, and small feelings. They practiced how to ask someone to repeat, how to say slower please, how to say I'm thinking. He found joy in these tiny tools. He had spent years learning big tools for business. Now he held small, human tools for home. At work, his assistant put the new items on the project board: captions, interpreters, basic signs at reception, visual alert checks. The head of facilities made a simple list and set a meeting with vendors. Some colleagues were curious, some worried about cost, some unsure. He tried to keep the tone steady. "This is not a trend," he said. "This is care made practical. We'll start small, learn, and grow." He looked for allies and found them. A manager with a hard-of-hearing aunt, an engineer who once worked, at a captioning startup, a receptionist who loved learning languages. The next Saturday, they met Maya at the cafe before opening time. She had a notebook with a hand-drawn cover. Welcome Signs. She laid out a simple plan. 10 signs to make a person feel seen. Hello, wait, water, milk, bathroom, help, pay, please, thank you, right. She added 3 tips for how to use them. Get to eye level. Slow your face and hands. Keep a notepad ready. The certified instructor joined them and polished the signs, fixing angles and hand shapes. They made a 1-page card with drawings and words. It looked friendly and clear. They practiced with the cafe staff. There was laughter, small mistakes, and quick fixes. The cook came out in his apron and learned "thank you" with a big smile. The barista learned "wait" and "milk" and practiced placing the glass on the side of Lena's stronger hand. Maya stood by, giving gentle pointers like a coach who cares more about heart than speed. When they finished, they taped a small sign near the register. "We can write or sign, whatever helps you best." In the afternoon, he brought the same card to his office reception team and tried a shorter version of the training with the certified instructor. The team enjoyed it. One person said, "I've always wanted to learn a few signs. This makes me feel ready to welcome anyone." Another said, "It helps me slow down and really see people. I think that will help everyone, not only deaf visitors." He made a note about that insight. Good changes help more than one group. The days began to tee. The first changes at home were small enough to fit on a sticky note. Mr. Kareem made a list on the fridge. Dinner at 7, homework at 7:30, story at 8, lights out at 8:30. He drew tiny hands next to each item to remind himself to sign as he spoke. Lena added a little drawing of a star beside story and signed, "Story must be fun." He nodded and signed, "Deal." They started with everyday words. Fork, plate, water, later, finished, wait, help. The words sat close too, their hands like friendly tools. At dinner, he learned to ask, "More rice?" And she learned to answer, "A little." When he forgot a sign, she tapped her wrist gently and showed him again. He did not feel judged. He felt coached by someone who cared. He changed small things in the living room. The TV now had captions on by default. A bright light connected to the doorbell flashed when someone came to the door. The smoke alarm had a light and a vibration pad under Lena's pillow at night. He showed her how it worked. He pressed the test button and the light flashed. The pad buzzed lightly. She gave a thumbs up and signed "safe." He signed "safe" too, and felt the meaning land deep. Bedtime changed from a rush to a quiet hour. They sat with a book between them. He learned to sign the story as he read. At first, his signs were slow and choppy. Lena waited and helped. He learned to match his face to the story. Eyebrows up for surprise, soft eyes for calm, a small smile for happy. The story traveled from the page to the air. At the end, she signed, "More?" He laughed and said, "One more page," and signed it too. She pretended to be shocked, then nodded, accepting the deal. At work, the first month of changes felt like a box of tangled cords. The new caption service worked most days, but sometimes the captions lagged behind the speaker. People talked too, fast. He would raise a hand and say, "One pause, please." The interpreters were skilled, but booking them took planning. Once, 2 interpreters arrived for the same meeting because of a double booking, and in another week, none came because someone forgot to confirm. He did not scold. He said, "We are learning. Let's write a clear checklist." The facilities. Team created a simple form. Date, time, number of interpreters, room setup, backup plan. Reception staff practiced their 10 signs once a week. They kept notepads at the desk. They learned to point to the right signs when a visitor arrived. They made small mistakes and laughed together while fixing them. One afternoon, a delivery person who was hard of hearing came to drop off boxes. The receptionist signed, "Hello, wait, 1 minute." The delivery person smiled with relief. Later, he wrote a short note. "Thank you for signing. It helped my day. Maya joined as a part-time accessibility coordinator. She was not there to replace professionals. The company made that clear. She was there to make sure small details did not fall through the cracks. She brought her cafe notebook with the hand-drawn cover and turned it into a living guide. She walked through the building with a lens of care. "This conference room could use better lighting on faces," she said. "This video screen is great. Can we move it lower so captions are easier to read?" She noticed the coffee station had loud grinders that made lip reading hard. The team moved a small conversation table to a quieter corner. "It will help many people," she said. "Not just deaf or hard-of-hearing people." She worked with the certified instructor to lead short trainings for managers. They used simple examples. "If you host a meeting," Maya said, "send slides early, turn on captions, speak at a steady pace, face the room when you talk. Don't talk while facing the board. If someone signs, give them a clear line of sight." People took notes. They practiced a few signs. Hello, welcome, thank you, sorry, repeat. They practiced saying, "Do you prefer to sign, write, or use captions?" in a clean, respectful tone. There were no quizzes. There was only practice. The job postings changed too. A small line now read, "We provide interpreters for interviews. Please tell us what helps you best." The company used clear language, not heavy jargon. They added a field for communication preferences in the application form. Within weeks, a few resumes came from qualified candidates who were deaf or hard of hearing. The recruiting team adjusted the interview process. They scheduled interpreters, added a caption link, and sent questions in advance. One candidate wrote later, "I did not have to ask for everything. You already planned. That showed respect." In the second month, a new hire joined the design team. He signed and read lips. He brought a small card that said, "I prefer sign. If you don't sign, please face me, speak clearly, or write." The team welcomed him with a card of their own, a few basic signs with drawings and words. The new hire smiled and signed, "Thank you." Work began with a gentle rhythm. People paused and made space. The team discovered that meeting notes became clearer when they wrote for captions. Roadmaps were easier to follow. There was less talking over each other. The changes made the whole room better. At home, growth showed up in sweet surprises. Lena started telling longer stories about school. He followed most of it and asked clarifying questions. He learned to say, "Repeat, slower, please," with a kind face. She slowed down. He learned to say, "I did not understand," she explained again, without rolling her eyes. Their talks stretched past 10 minutes and felt like a walk in a friendly park. Saturdays took on a new shape, too. They flew a kite in the park and made a game of signing while running. He signed, "Stop," and she stopped, with a playful grin. He signed, "Go," and she ran, hair flying behind her like a small flag. They signed, "Your turn, my turn, watch, careful, and laugh." Other families noticed their moving hands and smiled. A little boy asked his mother, "What are they doing?" The mother said, "They are talking with their hands." The boy waved at Lena. She waved back and signed hello. He copied the wave and laughed. One weekend, they went to a movie with open captions. The theater was half full. Words rolled on the bottom of the screen and no one complained. Lena ate popcorn and leaned into her dad during the exciting parts. He looked down and saw her eyes moving between the text and the action. He felt grateful that he did not need to whisper or explain. The story was theirs, equally, at the same time. Another Sunday, they went to a deaf community picnic at a park. Blankets dotted the grass like bright islands. Hands moved everywhere. Laughter came without sound, and also with sound from hearing family members and friends. People signed fast and with style. He felt a little shy at first. Maya was there and waved them over. She introduced him to her brother, who signed, "Nice to meet you." Mr. Kareem answered, "Nice to meet you," a bit slow but clear. They talked about books, food, and weather. He learned a couple of signs for jokes and watched how face and shoulders added meaning. He did not say much. He tried to listen with his eyes. Lena ran with kids and learned a hand clap game that had 5 steps and a spin. She taught him later, patient and proud. Not every day was smooth. One evening, he came home late and tried to jump into the daily hour after a long call. His signs were sloppy. His face showed stress. Lena signed, "Tired?" He nodded, "Sorry." She patted the seat next to her and signed, "10 minutes only." Then rest. They did 10 minutes on feelings and simple sentences. "I am tired. I need rest. I am okay. I am proud of you." He slept early that night and woke up more steady. The next day, he did the full hour with a fresh mind. At his company, a few bumps kept teaching them. Once, the live captions in a town hall mangled a person's name and a technical term, and the room giggled. He stepped in with a calm voice. "Let's repeat that line for clarity," he said. The speaker slowed down, the captionist corrected, and they moved on. Another time, someone sent a video without captions to all staff. A new habit had to be set. No captions, no send. The comms team created a quick checklist and a shared folder of caption templates. Mistakes still happened, but fewer each week. Maya's role grew in quiet ways. She started a small, friendly newsletter called Little Changes, sent once a month. It had 3 tips, 1 short story, and 1 "try this" idea. In the first issue, she wrote about face lighting in video calls and how a simple desk lamp made lip reading easier. In the second, she shared a note from a receptionist who used the sign for "wait" to help a stressed visitor feel calm. The stories were simple and real. People read them because they felt human, not corporate. Lena's school invited parents to a silent morning event. For the first hour, the school was quiet. People tried to communicate without speaking. They wrote, signed, pointed, smiled, and waited. Some parents laughed at their own clumsy gestures. Others felt a new kind of patience grow inside them. Mr. Kareem signed with confidence. He helped a parent learn "thank you" and "sorry." He saw how the quiet did not reduce connection. It changed its shape. Afterward, the principal said, "We do this to remember that many paths lead to understanding." He thought that was a line worth carrying to work and home. Spring arrived with warm afternoons and longer light. One evening, they ate on the balcony. Birds made quick lines across the sky. Lena told him about a school project on famous deaf artists. She showed him a picture of a bright painting with bold shapes. She signed, "The artist paints how silence looks to him." He asked, "How does silence look to you?" She thought for a second and signed, "Like clear water. You can see more inside it." He held that image in his mind, a small treasure, and signed, "Beautiful." She beamed. He noticed their family circle widen. Morning light rested on the kitchen table like a soft cloth. A calendar hung on the wall with little drawings instead of long words. A book for homework, a spoon for dinner, a small hand for sign practice, a moon for bedtime. Next to the door, a light blinked gently when the doorbell rang. On the counter, the TV showed the news with captions on by default. The house felt calm and ready, like a room that knows its guests well. Mr. Kareem poured tea and set a plate with toast and fruit. In front of Lena, she signed, "Good morning," with a tiny dance in her fingers. He returned the sign with easy hands and added, "How did you sleep?" She signed, like a cat on a warm pillow. He laughed. A year ago, he would have asked her to repeat. Today, the picture was clear in his mind at once. He signed back, "Lucky cat," and added a silly face. She rolled her eyes and grinned. They practiced a few new words as they ate. Lena taught him a sign for curious, which used eyebrows and a small twist of the fingers. He tried it. His eyebrows worked too hard, and the sign looked like he was smelling something strange. Lena laughed so hard, she almost dropped her spoon. She showed him again, slower. He adjusted, and the sign became smooth. He tapped the small square in his notebook for the day's practice and drew a tiny star next to it. It was a private game, stars for the moments that felt extra good. The driver took them to school. At the gate, the visual bell flashed when a teacher buzzed them in. A poster near the door said, "Welcome" in several languages, with drawings for each. Under the poster, a small sign with a hand symbol said, "We sign here." He noticed a new parent trying a simple hello in sign with her child. The hands were slow and careful. The child answered with patience. He felt a warm echo in his chest and signed to himself, "Keep going." At work, he walked through the lobby. The front desk had a neat stack of notepads and pens. A small card showed 10 basic signs with drawings and words. The receptionist signed hello to a visitor, then faced them clearly and spoke at a steady pace. He did not stand and watch. He nodded and kept moving. The changes no longer felt like projects. They felt like how things are done. He had a short meeting with his team to review a one-page accessibility update. It was not a glossy marketing piece. It was simple and honest. It listed what they had done: captions on all internal videos, interpreters for big events, and by request for small ones, basic sign training for front desks, clearer lighting in conference rooms, a clear process for booking interpreters, a caption, checklist for comms, and a review of emergency alerts. It also listed what still needed work: more quiet spaces for meetings, better training for managers, faster caption turnaround for live streams. The page ended with one line: "We will keep learning." A designer walked in with a small test device and a smile. "We finished a feature review with 2 deaf testers," she said. "They helped us redesign the chat alerts so they are more visible and not annoying. It helps everyone, not only deaf users." He signed thank you without thinking, then said it out loud, too. The designer nodded, proud of her team. After lunch, he visited a short training session Maya organized for new hires. She stood at the front with her easy smile and her hand-drawn guide that had grown into a real booklet. The cover still kept the same title: Little Changes. She talked slowly, signing some of her words as she spoke. Eye level, clear, face. Steady pace. Ask, don't assume, she said. 10 signs can change a whole day. The room listened. People tried hello, thank you, and wait. They laughed at mistakes like people do when they feel safe and curious. He watched from the back and felt quiet joy. She had started as a waitress with a notebook. Now she led a small team and a growing practice. Later, he walked through the office with the head of facilities. They checked a new visual alert panel by the elevators. They tested the caption stream in a conference room. They looked at the access kit drawer at reception, notepads, a simple instruction card, a spare desk lamp, and a guide for calling an interpreter. It's simple, the head of facilities said, but it helps. He nodded. Simple is powerful, he said. They both smiled. They knew now that simple did not mean easy. It meant clear. He left work early to pick up Lena. It was a special school day, a small exhibition in the gym. Students showed projects about communication. One group had built a conversation corner with good lighting, soft chairs, and a whiteboard for writing. Another group showed a video they made with captions in 2 languages. Lena's group had painted signs on canvas, hands in bright colors making words like share, patient, see, learn. She signed, "We made these together," and pointed to a canvas with the word together. He signed, "It is beautiful," then added, "I feel tall," borrowing from her poem. She raised an eyebrow in a tiny, proud smile. On the way home, they stopped at the cafe. The chalkboard out front had a warm line. "We sign here." Inside, the staff signed hello as they worked. The cook waved with a flour-dusted hand, so barista signed wait with a friendly palm when a line formed. Maya stood behind the counter, writing a note for a customer who preferred to write. She looked up and waved them over. "You're just in time," she said, signing as she spoke. "We hung the new community card today." She pointed to a small stand near the register. On it sat a stack of cards that said, "If you sign, we will sign. If you write, we will write. If you speak, we will slow down. You choose." He picked up a card and felt a quiet yes in his chest. A young man walked in carrying a delivery bag. He was hard of hearing and wore a small device behind his ear. The barista signed hello and held up one finger to ask him to wait. He smiled. When his turn came, the barista used a few signs and pointed to the card. The man's shoulders softened. He wrote his request on a notepad. Service took 1 minute longer and saved a whole day of stress. No one seemed to mind the extra minute. People watched without fuss, and some learned a new sign while they waited. They took their seats by the window. Maya brought milk for Lena and tea for Mr. Kareem without being asked. "How is the company report?" she asked. "Short and honest," he said. "No fireworks." She nodded. "Good," she said. "Fireworks don't last. Honest work does." She signed honest work with a clear movement that felt like a hand opening. He liked that sign. Maya told them she had finished her certificate program. "It was hard and good," she said. "I learned more about training, ethics, and when to pull in certified professionals." She shared that she had started helping. 2 other small businesses set up basic welcome practices, a bookstore and a dentist's office. "We are making a small resource sheet for local shops," she said. "Simple tips plus contacts for interpreters and classes." He said, "Tell me what you need." She smiled, knowing that need here meant time, care, and sometimes money, but always with respect. At home, the evening moved with calm steps. The flashing doorbell lit up once for a neighbor dropping off a plant cutting. They wrote a quick note of thanks and placed it next to the plant on the shelf. The TV showed a short nature film with captions. Lena read a line and signed a new word from it. Ripple. She made the sign with a soft wave of her hand, and he understood at once. He felt grateful for all the times he no longer had to guess. After dinner, they had their daily hour. The instructor joined by video for 20 minutes to check their hands and give gentle notes. They practiced feelings, stories, and a plan for tomorrow. There was a part of the lesson about asking for help in different places, at a store, at a station, at an office. He listened as if each word could become a bridge. Many had already done so. When the lesson ended, Lena pulled out a small box. Inside was a plain bracelet with tiny letters on it. STEADY. She signed, "For you." He blinked and signed, "For me?" She nodded. She added, "Steady is better than fast." He swallowed and smiled. He put the bracelet on and signed, "Thank you." He added, "Together." She answered, "Always." He spent a few minutes writing in his notebook. Today's date, 3 lines. Breakfast joke, curious sign, school exhibit, together painting, cafe card, you choose. He drew a small check mark in the box for his hour. On the next page, he reviewed notes for a meeting with his leadership team. He had one new item. Include accessibility checks in early product design, not only at the end. A small sticker in the corner showed a hand and an eye. His quiet reminder. To plan with people, not around them. The weeks had taught him something simple. The right time to begin is now, and the right size is small but steady. Money helped buy tools and time, but the real engine was patience, practice, and respect. After that, he decides to was not about a headline. It was about daily life. It was about returning to the table, raising his hands, and meeting his daughter at eye level again and again. He thought of his old habit of saying later. He did not judge his past self. He just felt grateful for the moment in the cafe when later became now. He thought of Maya bending to Lena's eye level and signing good morning. He thought of Ms. Rafi's warm note. He thought of the first time he signed applause at the school program. He thought of the messy first month at work when captions lagged and bookings mixed up, and how checklists and kind patience had turned chaos into rhythm. He thought of the little changes that had grown into big ease. Before bed, they watched the city outside the window. Lights came on like small stars. Lena turned to him and signed, "Want to learn a new joke?" He nodded. She taught him a playful sigh.